Ioncio hates North Korea, but she's not going to go out there speaking about it because that could lead to her death.
So one example of a front I think would be is the main character's 7 names. She kind of changes them throughout the entire story, like after a major incident has happened, and I think that kind of represents a certain.
To add on to what Pablo was saying, it's kind of it's a certain aspect of things. She's literally changing her name, and it's almost like putting a front on, but I don't know how to explain it, but she's not necessarily changing who she is, but her changing her name makes it seem it, and it over exaggerates the actual thing of putting on a front. To add on to what Pablo was saying, it's kind of it's a certain aspect of things. She's literally changing her name, and it's almost like putting a front on, but I don't know how to explain it, but she's not necessarily changing who she is, but her changing her name makes it seem it, and it over exaggerates the actual thing of putting on a front. For our second fun fact, it's actually it's not surprising if you're into history, but the main reason for Korea actually dividing, according to an article written by Sarah Pruitt on history.com, was actually the Cold War. This was due because of the Soviet Union and then the United States all going into Korea, and then it was divided along the 38th parallel, and both Koreas went their separate ways, supporting each in the Cold War. The United States likes to say that we're supporting them in their war, but we really did start the war. A big symbol I actually noticed in the book, which some might miss because it's so obvious, was the South Korean embassy. It represents freedom, obviously. Chapter 50, the title name is A Long Wait for Freedom. And then on page 275 it says, they say a lot of North Koreans pass through and then get sent to the South Korea embassy. It's a normal process. Nuna, don't worry, we'll be all right. It's obviously a common thing for North Korean refugees to be sent there before they completely get their freedom in South Korea. It's a step to freedom, and in my eyes, and hopefully everyone else understands, the South Korean embassy represents freedom. Sorry for this interruption. Are you someone stuck in North Korea and want to get out? Are you constantly being oppressed? If so, we can help. For the times 2 p.m. through 6 p.m., leave a yellow flag hanging on the right side of your home's entrance. You must take it down at 6 p.m. so that when we look at your house, we see the flag is removed and we for sure know you want freedom. We hope we can help you and your family. All you need to qualify is a yellow flag, nothing more. We hope to be in contact with you soon, and we hope to achieve you freedom. Thank you. All right, I'm interviewing Jonah Remsburg.
Hello.
What would you do if you lived in a society where you had very little freedom? How would you react if you felt your freedom was threatened?
So, I think that's a tough question because, if you lived in a society with very little freedom, there's not much choices involved in what you can do and what you can't, I guess. So, I think if I lived in a society with not a lot of freedom, I would try to do something to give me more freedom, and I would find other people that would help me. And what was another question?
How would you react if you felt your freedom was threatened?
And I guess if my freedom was threatened right now, obviously I'd want to do something about it. I don't think I would just let my freedom be overtaken. And I think a lot of other people would feel the same way, and it'd be really hard to just like take that from them.
Do you feel where you live right now that you have freedom? Has your freedom ever felt threatened?
I think that where I live specifically, like the U.S. is a very free country. I think where we get strained from freedom is just people. I think a lot of people try and stop people just from doing what they want to do. But overall, like, you know, where I live, there's almost infinite opportunity. There's not much stopping you from doing what you want to do.
All right. Do you think our American government is oppressive today? If so, have you experienced it?
Well, like I said before, you know, it's not really the government that's stopping us from being free. Like, they give us all the opportunities we want. They don't stop us from expressing ourselves in any way. But what it really is just the people around us. I think there's some people that, you know, don't agree with the way people express themselves and the way they talk and the way they are. And, you know, I don't really agree with that. I think, you know, you should be able to be whatever you want to be and do whatever you want to do.
How do you think America compares to a country like North Korea?
I don't really know that much about North Korea, so, like, you know, it'd be hard for me to compare the U.S. to them, but from what I've heard, you know, I think it's definitely a lot more easy to live in the U.S., you know, like, I hear people who, like, go into Korea, like, and they can't leave and things like that, and they're just under a very harsh leader that tries to be involved in ways that are different than us, I guess. I don't know.
How do you feel about countries that are ran through the form of dictatorship? Example, North Korea.
It's definitely a different type of, you know, structure to everything. Like, you can see, like, does Russia?
Yeah.
That's a dictator, yeah. Like Vladimir Putin, you know, it's pretty obvious that, like, he has a lot of power compared to, like, our president, who has to go through many other checks and things like that, which obviously he definitely has to go through checks, but I think in hindsight of it all, like a dictator has, you know, more pull than just like a president in the U.S. And I think a lot of dictatorship too is like ruling out of fear rather than communion, I guess. Like, I think obviously, like, with the president in the U.S., like, it's definitely split. Like, not everyone agrees with it, but I don't think there's much fear of it. It's more just like people having their opinions on the president, and, you know, who thinks that they should do this or do that. But, like, with a dictator, you know, they don't have really a choice. It's just like kind of, he's here and we have to listen to him.
Alrighty, thank you, Jonah.
Yes, sir.
All right, we're interviewing Miss Dick. She is a consistent sub throughout Newton High School.